All right, let's talk about one of the most powerful and, let's be honest, kind of confusing platforms out there, Amazon Web Services. We're going to try and cut through all that complexity and make it crystal clear. So let's dive in.
You know that feeling, right? You look at the AWS service list and it's just this wall of cryptic names. It feels like you've been dropped into a new country and they forgot to give you the map. If you've ever felt your brain just short-circuit looking at it all, trust me, you are not alone.
But what if we just throw that list out? Forget the list. Instead, I want you to imagine AWS as this massive, bustling city. And right now, together, we're going to draw the map for this cloud city. We'll use some simple, everyday analogies to figure out what every single district and building is actually for.
Every city has to start somewhere. It needs a foundation, and in our cloud city, that's the engine room and the warehouses. This is where all the raw power, the real computational muscle, and the vast storage that holds everything together. This is where it all lives.
So how do you actually power your stuff? Well, you've basically got two main choices. First up is Amazon EC2. Think of this like renting a virtual PC. You get the keys, you get total control. It's like having a computer just in the cloud. But what if you don't need a whole computer? What if you just need to run a little snippet of code? Well, for that, there's AWS Lambda. We call it functions on demand. You just give it your code and it runs. You only pay for the milliseconds it's actually running. It's efficiency at its absolute best.
Of course, once you're popular, you've got to manage all the visitors. So you need a traffic cop. That's elastic load balancing. It stands at the intersection and directs everyone to the right server so nobody gets stuck. And if a huge crowd suddenly shows up, that's when the accordion, EC2 autoscaling, kicks in. It automatically expands your capacity to handle the rush, and then, just as important, it shrinks right back down when things get quiet again.
Okay, so we've got power. Now where do we put all our stuff? The most famous spot is Amazon S3, which is basically the infinite bucket. You can toss pretty much any file you want in there and access it from the internet. But what about that virtual PC we rented? It needs its own dedicated hard drive, right? That's what Amazon EBS is for. And what if you have a whole bunch of those virtual PCs and they all need to get to the same files? Well, that's where Amazon EFS comes in. It's like the shared network drive for the whole team.
All right, let's leave the heavy machinery behind and head over to the next district, the Intelligence Hub. This is where all the city's data gets organized, analyzed, and turned into smart decisions. This is really the brains of the whole operation. And what's so cool here is that it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. Nope, there's a specialized tool for every single job. If you need a high-performance traditional database, you go for Aurora, the Ferrari of SQL. Need pure, raw speed above all else? That's DynamoDB, the speed demon. For that lightning-fast data access, you've got Elasticache, the city's short-term memory. And for mapping out complex relationships, like a social network, you bring in Neptune, the social network mapper.
So, you've got all this data. What do you do with it? Well, you could use Athena. Think of Athena as a librarian. It can go and read the data right where it lives, in those S3 buckets, and answer your questions on the spot. Or if you need to do some really deep, complex analysis, you can load everything into Redshift, the big red warehouse, built specifically for running huge reports on historical data.
But it's not all serious data crunching in the Intelligence Hub. There are some fun, creative tools too. Take Amazon Polly. We like to call it the Parrot. It's a really simple but powerful service that just turns text into incredibly lifelike speech. Polly want a cracker? And Polly's got a whole crew of AI helpers working alongside her. You want to understand what's in an image or video? You use Computerize, which is Amazon Recognition. Need to turn spoken words into text? Call in the stenographer, Amazon Transcribe. You can even build your own chatbots with Alexa's Brain, which is Amazon Lex. There's even an AI assistant to help you write code, the coding buddy, Amazon Q.
Okay, so we've got our foundation with power and storage, and we have the Intelligence Hub making smart decisions. But a city is pretty useless if all its parts can't communicate. So now let's explore the logistics network, the roads and wires that connect everything together.
Think about this. How do you stop your systems from getting totally overwhelmed with requests? Well, you use Amazon SQS. It's exactly like taking a ticket at a busy deli counter. It makes sure every single request gets in a fair line, and it's only served when one of your systems is actually ready for it. Now serving number 5.
And here is a perfect little picture of how these services work together. So a request comes in, and first it meets the bouncer, that's API Gateway, which checks to see if it's on the list.
If it is, it gets sent to the deli counter, SQS, to wait its turn. Finally, the flowchart, which is step functions, takes over and coordinates all the different pieces of work that need to happen to get that request done.
But wait, how does anyone even find your application in the first place? Well, that is the job of Route 53, which is basically the phone book for the entire internet. Its job is simple but absolutely critical. It translates a nice human-friendly website name into the string of numbers, the IP address, that computers actually understand.
And you know, once someone finds your site, speed is everything. Nobody waits around for a slow website anymore. That's where Amazon CloudFront comes in. It's a fast delivery network that keeps copies of your content in locations all over the world. So whether your user is in Tokyo or Toronto, your site loads in a flash. That's how you keep people engaged.
All right, let's head to our final district, and it's a really important one, the city's government. This is the central command. It's where security, monitoring, and the overall management of your entire cloud empire happens. And you better believe this city has a full security team. First, you've got IAM, the keymaster, who decides who gets keys to which buildings. Then there's guard duty, the security guard, constantly patrolling and watching for threats. Standing at the city gates is AWS WAF, the shield, blocking any bad traffic from getting in. And all your most important secrets? They're kept safe in the vault, KMS, which manages all your encryption keys.
Now, to keep an eye on everything, you've got two essential tools. There's CloudWatch, which is like your dashboard and alarm clock. It shows you exactly what's happening in your city right now and sounds an alarm if something goes wrong. And then there's CloudTrail. That's your detective's log. It records every single action, so you always have a perfect record of who did what and when.
And now, for what might just be the most powerful tool in the whole city, CloudFormation, or the blueprint. This thing lets you define your entire city, every server, every database, every network rule, all as code in a single file. Now, why is that such a game changer? Because it means you can use that blueprint to build a perfect, identical copy of your city, anywhere in the world, in just a matter of minutes. It's incredible.
So, you see, after our little tour, the fog starts to clear. You realize that AWS isn't just this intimidating, endless list of services. It's a real, interconnected system.
It's really just a giant box of building blocks. Each service is a different shape, a different color, a different function, but they're all designed to snap together. They're the pieces you can use to build literally anything you can dream up.
So now you've seen the engine room, the warehouses, the intelligence hubs, the security systems. You have the map. You have the blueprint. The only real question left is, what are you going to build?